Okay, so you're live. See you in a minute.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I am group leader this week.
Yay!
So for part one, it's just the model review, and it says, well, maybe we should get to know Beth's.
Hi guys. Let's see if I can turn on my camera. Okay, I don't know if I can. Okay. Sorry I haven't been able to join you guys the last 2 weeks. I've been getting my classes confused.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm in Rexburg right now.
Cool. Super. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get confused because I just have another class where I'm in another group, and then I was starting to confuse the two. But yeah, it can get really confusing. Cool. Hopefully Kimberly will jump online, but until then. So basically, it's kind of like last week where it wants us to summarize how the model works using the theoretical phases and change model. So basically, what is this model? Does anybody want to briefly summarize that?
All right, fine, I will. So I understand this model as kind of looking at, well, it goes through those phases like the pre-contemplation, the kind of the contemplation. So it's kind of like you're considering changing a bad habit or some kind of a behavior. And you're thinking about it and you're kind of weighing the pros and cons and like, okay, should I do this? Should I not do this? You're kind of going through that mindset, I think. And then you kind of start to get a little bit more educated, and you're starting to look at things a little bit more, and then you're really starting to think about it. But each one of those phases, like if you're in the pre-contemplation phase, you're not ready to make changes yet. It seems you're just kind of thinking about it. And then as you kind of move through, like with anything, you either stay with it or you kind of fall off. Like that video talked a lot about exercise. I think probably all of us have started some kind of a exercise regime, or I'm going to eat better. I'm going to become healthy this year, whatever. And so you get excited and it kind of goes up. But I think the thing about it is if you can sustain that through like putting it into action, like one of the phases was preparation, and then making kind of goals and making that happen, and then making it go into action, and then staying with it into that last phase, that maintenance phase where it becomes a habit and you've made a change. So I think exercise is a kind of a good thing to throw onto this. That's kind of how I interpreted that.
Yeah, and I think the example of smoking was a good one too.
Yeah.
Because that one's kind of a hard habit to kick. And so I think, yeah, like any like health behavior change, basically, I guess it was saying like it's a pretty good fit on this. And it kind of all ties together with like your motivation, your drive, your attitude. It's they all kind of embody, they kind of just keep adding on each model. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, what I liked about this model too is that, like, it allows you to, like, relapse, I guess. Like, you can go back to the bad behavior, but you can just start over. Like, it's just kind of like practicing.
Yeah, and it's important once we're in maintenance that we know what things makes us relapse so that it won't happen again. I think that's like one of the main things that I read on the presentation, that we should be aware of those things that make us relapse so that we won't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can jump back in. You kind of skip some steps if you need to. You don't have to go back to the pre-contemplation phase or whatever. That you
Yeah.
just, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump back in. I'm gonna quit eating burritos.
Cool. Awesome. I think that pretty much summarized it. So then we go to discuss the processes and how they relate to the stages of the model. I mean, something that I did like was that in the little presentation, how it would be like on the top, it's like bridging this point to this point, and how you bridge this point to this point. And so it would say, like, let me look at my notes real fast. It was like bridging process to help people move from the contemplation stage to the preparation stage. And then it would talk about, like, you have to self-evaluate. And then the next step is, like, how do you get from the prep stage to the action stage? And then you are in the maintenance stage. And I just thought that was, like, really helpful because, like, if you don't know, like, what process you're in, you will lose the motivation. You will kind of get bored, or you might think you're too stuck and you might want to give up. But if there are, like, the little steps in between each one, then you're more motivated to finish. Instead of these bigger steps, you have, like, little steps in between so that you can kind of measure your success gradually instead of just in these big moments.
Yeah.
So the processes were those things like consciousness raising, dramatic relief, self-reevaluation. Those are the processes, right?
Yeah.
I
Those are in
think
between the bridging processes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Just like,
I think the processes are nice because they, like, the stages of change help you figure out what stage of population it's in, but the processes help you, like, do something for the population. Like, you can, like, educate them for consciousness raising, or you can, like, help them rearrange their environment. Like, the processes are, like, actually the things that you can implement. I think
yeah.
it's very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of natural. The processes are just, it's kind of like when you're ready, you start moving that way. So it's not like it's a big chore because it's kind of depends on the person and when they're ready to make that transition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of cool about this model too, is it's kind of like your self, like, realization, you know, it's like the pre-contemplation stage. Like, if you haven't really hit that, that means you're not really thinking about it and you're not really worried about your health. But if you start, like, just investigating, or if someone says something and it kind of, like, hits you, you're like, well, maybe I should, like, stop smoking, or maybe I should, like, go to bed early, or whatever bad habit you have. Like, this model is kind of a good model for those who, like, that do have a little bit of motivation, or, you know, the conscious effort to make a difference.
Yeah.
All right. So the last question in the part 1 says, what kind of interventions centered on the processes move people through the stages? So what kind of interventions?
Like increase awareness, like confront them. I mean, there's many interventions for, like, the consciousness raising, for example. I think it's important to let them know. I think they gave us, like, an example in the overview about kids that were playing video games, and they were, as a result, they were having bad grades, but they kept going, like, they didn't really care. So I think it's important to let them know that because they are playing games, they are having bad grades, and that if they like lessen the time that they play video games, maybe they'll have more time to do their homework and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like,
kind of,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would say kind of just considering like what you said, just the positives and negatives of your actions. You're starting to consider that. So that's kind of the, the first phase. You're trying to let people understand, like, hey, if you keep doing this, this is what you can expect. But if you can make an adjustment or a change, then this is what you can expect.
What were you going to say, Lucy?
Oh, basically that. Just like education would move somebody, well, maybe from pre-contemplation to contemplation. I think that's more about the risks of their behavior.
Which kind of ties in well with part 2 with the video games. I guess we can choose one. So maybe because we talked about the video games, we could choose the other one. But we're supposed to pick between the 2 scenarios and how we can apply the model to them. So the first scenario is you are a health educator on the BYU campus working with a group of young men who are spending in excess of 16 to 20 hours per week playing violent video games. These young men are struggling academically at school. Upon initial interview with these young men, none of them feel they have a problem and are happy with the amount of time they spend gaming. And scenario 2 is you are a health educator on the BYU Idaho campus. Your roommate or spouse is struggling with depressive symptoms but is not seeking help. How do you use the trans-theoretical stages of change model to develop interventions centered on the processes to move him or her through the stages? Understand that you need to do some preliminary research on working with individuals with mental health issues. Working with this population is not just a quick fix. Understand the target population from their perspective. So it says, from your chosen scenario, work together to develop interventions using the 8 interventions centered on the processes that would move this population through the stages of change. So this is supposed to take a little bit of a time, because that's the last thing we're doing. So I guess I need to look up the interventions, unless somebody has them all memorized.
Which one? Like the consciousness racing, the dramatic relief? It's like the ones in between?
I think so, but then it makes me think if we're working with the other...
Yeah, with...
like last week with those interventions? Because aren't there 8 of them?
I think it's the interventions table from lesson 3.
From lesson 3. Yeah, I'm going to pull that up, because I'm never going to be able to memorize that. Let's see here. Well, let's see here. Sorry, guys.
I pulled it up too.
You pulled it up too. Okay.
So intervention 1 is health communication strategies.
So which one are we doing? Are we going to do the...
Oh yeah, we gotta decide which one we're doing. I think...
So it said we have like 8 different ones?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with either one. So, I mean, does anyone feel more strongly about another one?
Either one of them will work.
Let's just do the video game one.
Yeah, since we're pretty familiar with it. Okay, so we kind of have a barrier where they don't feel like they have a problem, I guess, but they are struggling academically.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're in pre-contemplation.
Yes. It definitely improve concentration.
Okay. So now that we have, yeah, they're in that stage, what intervention could we use to help them, like, the pre-contemplation, I guess?
Well,
Is that how we're supposed to do this? Is
yeah,
that?
I think so. Like, what moves them from the next to the next stage is consciousness raising, right, and dramatic relief. So then, what intervention would provide those things?
I think a lot of them could actually work now that I look at it, like for them to realize. So, like, even like social activities, like maybe they could realize that, like, they don't spend as much time with their friends anymore, or they don't really go to, like, I guess they're at BYU Idaho, so they don't really go to, like, FHE or to their ward functions because, I mean, 20 hours is like a part-time job.
Yeah.
So they are
Yeah,
spending
it is.
a lot of time there. So I think, we could, a lot of these, like, we can do like the education or whatever works. But
I think it's a lot of communication with them, saying, okay, listen, this is what's going on. So a lot of education in this medical intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm back. Wow, there's a lot of people in here.
I know, we have like a huge group now.
Holy cow. All right.
Yeah, sorry. My name is Kim. I just got added on.
Oh,
Oh, cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a little lost and haven't jumped in yet. I just want to try and catch up first.
It's okay. I was gone. I had to drop my daughter at preschool. She's graduating. So, anyway. Okay, so where are you guys at?
So we are on the last, well, there's only 2 parts. So we're on the second part.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we have a scenario and we're supposed to apply the model to the scenario. So our scenario right now is that we're an educator at BYUI. We have a group of young men who spend like 16 to 20 hours a week playing violent video games. But these men they are struggling academically, and upon like our first interview with them, none of them feel like they have a problem, and they are content with like how much they spend time gaming. So
Gotcha.
now we're trying to develop interventions
Okay.
from like the lesson 3 to kind of move them through the stages of the model. So we're kind of like combining and putting the interventions into the model to help them like go from step to step.
Okay, cool. So is this something, are we writing this down and turning it in? Or is it something we're just talking about?
Well, I actually just looked in the application assignment, and that's what.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
So the application assignment for this week is exactly what we're doing right now. So
it doesn't even tell us that.
I know.
So weird.
Gotcha.
Way to go, Lucy.
Good job. Thank you for
Pull that
warning.
up.
Well, let's just open it up and start working on it together then, because
I am down for that.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it is literally the same.
I know. I was just like, oh, I wonder what the application assignment is, and then I looked at it.
We're like, oh, it's what we're talking about. Okay.
All right, we're 9, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
so we're on the pre-contemplation phase, and we
Okay.
need an intervention.
Okay.
So wouldn't this be like communication, like just literally talking to people, trying to get them to understand that, hey, there might be an issue, you might want to consider making a change?
Yeah, I feel like that would be the best way to start communicating.
In our reading for this week, it mentioned that for people stuck in the pre-contemplative stage, that illustrating the different pros versus the cons could be helpful so that they could have a realization that the behavior that they're in is negatively affecting them. So I think talking to them and showing that the pros to change their behavior outweigh the cons might be helpful.
Cool. So I think that's a good explanation. What would we think the best intervention would cover that? like a behavior modification, or well, not. I guess.
Put health communication strategy.
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah.
Or
So you
health educational.
health communication and education strategy.
Yeah.
So we would list the pros and cons.
Yeah.
Have a self-realization of the action, I guess, or the, I don't know, like the bad habit or the, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say just explain to them the pros and cons of playing video games. So if they play less video games, they would have higher grades. And if they play more video games, they will most likely fail because they're already doing bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so health
Health communication strategies is the
strategy.
intervention. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
I think it can also cause like, and I don't know if this should be under this part, but too much stimulation, like video game wise or screen time wise, like 2 hours before you sleep, causes you, I don't know, this is the doctor told me, causes you to not think, I mean, I don't play video, okay, let me rephrase that.
Your mind.
I don't have a video game problem, but the doctor was saying that 2 hours before you go to sleep, if you're doing that, like video game playing, then it actually is detrimental to your like thinking the next day. So I don't know if that has anything to do with explanation or no, probably not. Maybe later in that.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I think we could put that under like self-liberation, you know, because then they'll have more like energy and
yeah, like more like they rest better and they can think better because they're getting a full, their brain is able to actually
yeah yeah let's save that for self-liberation, but okay. That's good.
I jumped the gun, but you know.
No, you're good. Okay, so I think now we're on contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
And we need an intervention for them to be in the contemplation stage.
So this stage, they're said to be getting ready.
Yeah. And it says that people at this stage appreciate the positives of changing their behavior. So now they like saw the list of pros and cons. So now they're kind of like, yeah, like, you know, I think
they're aware of the consequences.
What was that?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I just said they're aware of their consequences at this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what if for an intervention we did something like environmental change strategies, like they can put their video games like in a box and put them on their shelf, or like they can.
Would that be the action?
Oh, that could be an action, yeah. So here it says, at the contemplation stage, a person has the intention to engage in the healthy behavior within the next few months. But they could remain in the stage for 2 years, but it says they appreciate the positives of changing, but they might still try to avoid action. You know, they might like procrastinate change. It's just that they're like thinking about it. So I guess like with our situation, you know how they're like, oh, I don't have a problem. I'm actually quite happy with how much I changed video games. So now we're like past that step. So now like they're
so
actually like
maybe like health policy enforcement strategies, because they're already like in the stage that they're gonna change. So they need like enforcement.
Well, one of the things that came up, it says like they said get them. Maybe have them take up a new activity, like a new sport or something to kind of replace.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe a behavior modification.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good one.
Yeah, social activities too.
I like
what
that.
was that, Missy?
Or social activities that could fall under.
Yeah, or social activities, or even organizational like structure. Yeah, I think any of those ones. Should we just do? We could do social activities because then yeah, they're changing what they're doing with their time.
I like that one.
Okay, cool. So social activities.
Yeah.
Oh, good, Sam. I like that one. I'm going to use that in my household. For those of us who have video game problems. Not naming
I
them.
never have time to play video games.
I know. It's mostly my kids that get the.
Yeah, kids always have time.
Yeah. It's the summer thing, you know, like
Yeah.
this time, so I can't get them off Minecraft.
At least it's like Legos, right?
Now there's like another game apparently.
Different.
I was like, I'll give you a game. I'll get you go out there and dig a hole in the ground and then fill it back in. How's that game?
I'm so doing that. That's awesome.
So to replace the gaming with a different activity, like such as a sport or like a hobby, I guess.
Yeah, I just put maybe a social activity, like, because they're not being social at this point, really. I mean, they might be with they're on headphones and that, but instead of playing the game, to get them to go out and try to replace that behavior with something else.
Okay.
So however, if you guys think that works.
Like I think like joining a club maybe.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a club of gamers maybe, but at least they go out and are together. I don't know.
They go out and talk about hacks while they're socializing.
Dinner.
Dinner over gaming, yeah. Cool. That was great, guys. Okay. So now we're in the preparation stage. The process is like a self-reevaluation. So we need the intervention. So it says this is the stage where they're ready to engage in an action within like the next 30 days. This is gradual steps. They're doing like a small amount of something else, you know. And they're kind of telling like friends and families that they're wanting to change the behavior, I think, at this point.
Let's see. So an intervention. Well, maybe the intervention is that they're telling family and friends about their wanting to change, and so they engage in people outside of what maybe that would be the intervention. That they tell their social network or their close relatives or friends that they're trying to make a change. Maybe that's the first step.
Would that be the explanation then? So then like the intervention could be like the behavior modification?
Could, yeah, I guess it could be.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
What about the health-related community service strategies? Community mobilization, because like the definition that I put says like identify common priorities, resources, good governance, accountability, and useful solutions in a way to promote certain healthy behavior change.
Okay. Do you know if that would also fit like under action as well? Because it kind of seems like, well, I don't know actually. That might.
Yeah, I like it.
So do you think, I mean, like technically we can all pick different things too. Like, you know, we all turn it in differently. So like, but yeah, that was really, yeah, whatever. I mean, whatever you guys think.
One of these like run together.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So I just said a lot of these interventions like
Overlap.
Overlap, yeah.
Cool.
Do you guys have 2 boxes for interventions under contemplation?
Yeah, I think it's because it's cut off a little weird.
Because I moved the table down.
And it's still 2 boxes.
Yeah.
Do we just put like a second thing there just in case?
I mean, if you guys want to, yeah.
So wait, we all turn it in ours individually?
Yeah, this is the application.
This is the application.
Definitely thought it was. Okay.
Do we want to go back and pick another intervention for pre-contemplation then, or?
Let's just keep going and see what we can come up with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, did everyone get, like, for preparation something?
Yeah.
Just under explanation, what was it that you guys said? Sorry, my thing was cutting out.
I just put tell family and friends that they want to change, so you incorporate their social network.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're actually, but that's just what I put, kind of what I was thinking. But feel free to modify it.
Them as well, so they know that, like, they're not kind of alone in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's always easier to be more accountable when more people know about the behavior change you want to do.
Right.
Yeah, I just put seek social support.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Okay, so now we're on the stage of action with the processes of self-liberation. And let's see, but I took a note on the presentation. It says, like, this is where, let's see, it says people in the action phase have initiated behavior change in the last few months, and they need to keep working hard to keep the healthy behavior as part of their life. And they need to strengthen their commitment so they don't, like, slip back down or lose motivation. So yeah, they just need to, like, create more motivation to the commitment that they're trying to do.
And for the bridging process to help people move from the action stage to the maintenance, it says reinforcement management. So it says to maybe increase the rewards for the positive behavioral change so that they could continue. So maybe reward yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like encouragement. Like, that's kind of like what the explanation kind of needs to have is encouragement, better rewards. So what would be like a good intervention to encompass that?
Oh, how about learning a technique that will improve your commitment, or acknowledge people that support your negative behavior, kind of a thing. So, like, you're kind of identifying those people that, like, if I go out and hang out with so and so, then I'm going to smoke. Or
yeah. Do you think that the intervention, like environmental change strategies, maybe, like?
Yeah, maybe, because now you're trying to take action, so you're trying to avoid situations like, if you know you're going to go home and you're going to game as soon as you eat dinner, you got nothing left to do, then you've got to take some kind of an action to move you out of that.
Yeah, like go on a walk or something.
Yeah.
Or, kind of change what I guess they'd kind of be like your triggers, you know, for the bad habits.
So health.
I did environmental change strategy.
Environmental changes. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And also maybe help those people make friends with other people that don't play video games, because I think that's what it was talking about in environmental change strategies. For people who want to change, like, their lifestyle, they should change their environment and hang out with people that like to do different things.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay, guys, let's see.
Now we're on maintenance, right?
This one's kind of interesting. Like we have like 5 boxes. So I guess we need an intervention for each process, you think?
Right.
No, yes.
Yeah. Counter conditioning. Counter conditioning.
So that says here, let's see. It says substituting healthy alternative behaviors and cognition for unhealthy behaviors. Learning healthy behaviors that can be substitute for the problem behavior. Oh, this is when it talked about like relaxation, assertion, desensitization, behavior replacement, positive self-statements. So I guess, yeah, you're just replacing the bad behavior with the good behavior.
Yeah.
That would be behavior modification.
What was that, Landon?
Behavior modification for the intervention, you think, then?
Yeah.
Under counter conditioning, behavior modification.
Yeah. I guess like maybe because it said here that they need like positive self-statements. So maybe like in the beginning of the day, they kind of go over like what their schedule is and just kind of saying like, I don't need to play video games. I will do this. Maybe like.
So like having a schedule in place.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
so it's not like, oh, I'm bored. I don't like. Well, I should play video games. Like I have nothing else to do.
Yeah,
You know?
that's really important.
So like maybe like a good schedule. Like, what would be like a good self-statement to say to yourself?
That would work.
Maybe like writing something on the mirror, like, you know, I won't play video games today or something. I don't know.
I'm a good person.
I'm a good.
Like me. I was just thinking of Saturday Night Live, you know, when he was like, everybody likes everyone. Never mind. So helping relationship.
That says like, yeah, the social support, and they need to be open and trusted with others. So like counselors, buddy systems.
Yeah, so I was gonna say a lot of a family member that just went through rehab, not for video games, but for drugs. And when they got out, a lot of their plan to recover from the addiction is to go to meetings like AA and Al-Anon and all these meetings. But there's actually video game like meetings,
Yeah.
like AA, but it's for like any. I mean, they have all addictions out there, whether it's like gambling or video games. So
Yeah.
maybe like going to one of those, planning to like go to those meetings weekly, is usually really helpful in like that stage of.
Yeah.
So would that be social activity?
Yeah, it could be social activity.
Social activity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, you can pick whatever, but organizational culture too, I think. Whatever you want.
Oh yeah, okay. Organizational culture activities. Oh, I like that.
Okay. Cool. Now we have reinforcement management, which basically says increase reward for the positive behavior change, decrease for unhealthy behavior. Some of these are kind of redundant, but yeah, so basically it says like group recognition, positive self-statement. So just like positive reinforcement, I guess, and negative reinforcement. So I guess.
That'd be behavior modification again, or
Yeah, think so.
Yeah, I think a lot of this section is things similar to behavior modification. So
Yeah.
I need a bunch.
Yeah. So what could we do to increase the reward for positive behavioral change? Like, what would be like a good thing for, like, if you guys know anyone that like likes video games and they like were stopping, like what would be like a positive reward for them? That's not video games.
Maybe like picking their favorite, like, oh no, that's hard.
Yeah, I'm also thinking like we're trying to help them with their grades as well.
Oh yeah, so better. Yeah, we didn't incorporate that yet, right?
No.
Not too much yet. So I'm wondering, like, I don't know if they think it'd be positive reinforcement to like study more. Or like,
One thing that I was thinking is like maybe after they do well on a test or assignment, they can like go to ice cream or go see a movie or go
Yeah.
play soccer or something they like.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like
okay,
play
so like,
their favorite sport or their favorite. Maybe they like to eat at a certain favorite restaurant or.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
can pick their
sure.
favorite activity that they want to do.
I mean, that's what I do when
When you're playing too many video games, you reward yourself.
yeah.
So what would be the intervention? Behavior modification?
Yeah, kind of. A lot of them kind of encompass. Okay. Stimulus control. And that says it removes cues for unhealthy habits and add prompts for healthier alternative. And so the self-help groups, reduce. So you're trying to like reduce the relapse or removing the reminder. So I think that was it. Lucy, was it you that said like to put the video games like somewhere else, where they don't see them?
Oh, in a box. I think someone.
Yeah, or hide the remotes. Like take the remotes and hide them somewhere. That's what I do.
Yeah, like ask their roommate to like put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Or they don't know where it is. Yeah, I think this would be like a great place to put it. Just to get rid of the stimulus.
Would that be environmental change strategies then?
Yeah, I think so. Cool. And if they really wanted to, they could sell it.
Might have to do a whole other
Yeah. I might just break them down too.
thing for that.
Okay. Last one. So social liberation. That says increase in social opportunities or alternative, easy access to health promotion services. This one.
Easy access to.
So maybe like if they do like service, like they can think about other people than themselves.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or is that weird? like just kind of getting out of their own elements, because like this will increase like social opportunities because you'll meet people. You'll just kind of create like good vibes for yourself. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good vibes.
Also, I put change roommates if necessary. Just like
What was that, Lucy? Sorry, I didn't.
change roommates if necessary.
Oh yeah.
Like make your social community like make it so it's unacceptable if you like forgot to play video games. Like
Yeah.
I feel like at this point they should know, like who to hang out with or who to live with, because they know that it won't help them.
So would this be a community service strategy for community mobilization?
Yeah, so I was thinking more like health-related community service strategy. Yeah, so just like, because I feel like you feel your best self when you're like doing better things with your time, like service.
Yeah.
So like if they can realize like, oh, like I can still feel happy not playing video games, like, you know, a good way to do it is like to volunteer within your community, to like distract yourself, to like kind of get out of like your house, which is like the environment for these guys, which creates like the bad behavior.
Okay.
guys, I'm sorry, I gotta go take my husband to class.
No, you're fine. I think we're pretty much done anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well I'll see you guys next week.
Okay, bye, Lucy.
Bye.
So, yeah, I think we only do this really together, right?
Yes.
What the heck?
Okay. All right.
Well,
I think
that's it.
that was it on the relevance. So, cool. Now we got a step further down with the application.
All right.
Well, who wants to be the leader next week?
Well, who hasn't done it yet that would like to? Because isn't next week our last one?
I think so. It's whatever where like the lesson stops saying models after it.
Okay, so Sam's done it, Maddie's done it, I've done it. So I guess that leaves, the Lucy who just jumped off, Landon, is it Betsa? And then Skylar? Are you Skylar?
No, I'm Kim, but I'm using Sky's account.
Okay, so if any of you guys want to do it.
I'm up for it, but maybe if
All of
someone
you
wants
wanna
to
do
do
it
it
together.
with me, sorry, go ahead.
I say if somebody wants to jump in, so guess we got 3 people, so
Yeah, I can help you.
3 of you can do it. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, I certainly don't mind. Since I'm just jumping in, this is my first week, I don't feel quite caught up yet, but if someone wants to do it with me, that would be awesome.
I could do it with you if you'd like.
The rest of the 3 remaining can kind of team up and do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So, Michelle, are you still okay to start the Google Plus?
Yeah. So next week I won't have school, so I can actually start it right at 9 if you guys are, 10. Okay. What the heck time am I in? I'm sorry, I had a really hard group project from another class and my brain's dead. So 10 your guys' time. If you guys want to start right at 10, I can. You guys
Sounds great.
Okay.
And then, Michelle, are you still okay to post the links on the...
Yep. Yeah, no problem. So last time I submitted it and then I also posted it in the comment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then, hey, Landon, did you get credit?
Yeah, so he said he didn't mean to give me a 0 or whatever. So
Okay, cool. I was like, oh no.
I was like, what the heck? But
Michelle's grades are in her hands, or our grades are Michelle's.
I know. I was like, I hope I didn't do something wrong, but I guess he just made a mistake.
no, that's what I pretty much figured. So
He's a really cool instructor. I've had him for another class. He's
pretty laid back.
Yeah.
okay. Good. Okay.
All right. Well, see you guys next week.
All right. Then.
Bye, guys.
Okay, thank you. Bye.